Anybody like some pound cake? I'd like some pound.
Well, hey, how's it going? Today is lesson 1-4, and we are talking about decimal place values. Okay, and with that, you're going to be able to give me the place value of a digit in a decimal number. We're going to be able to write decimals in expanded form, and you're going to be able to write them in short word form. So, first, before we start, let's do the problem of the day. There it is. All right, here's your problem of the day. Go ahead, answer it if you so choose. Find the value of the following expression. Looking at 8,247,930,165 plus 10 to the power of 7. Go ahead and do that for me. All right. So again, if you did the problem today, welcome back. If you didn't, you're still here. So that's a good thing in itself. So you have learned to read numbers that have digits to the right of the decimal point, right to the right. Today we're going to learn how to read smaller decimal numbers. So we're going to go to All right, so have you ever seen a number that has a decimal point, a lot of digits to the left of the decimal? So just kind of stop and think about that for a second. So maybe the number pi at 3.14 just goes on and on and on. Or batting averages, soccer comes into play with a .325 batting average, or exact measurements, or even when we talked about in science, the percentage of water that we have for use, 0.0025% of the water in the earth, right? So these are the numbers we're kind of talking about. We're talking about decimals that are long decimals, but they don't necessarily have a lot of value. So that's what we're getting into today, and let's check it out. Okay, so to get started, I went ahead and wrote a number on the board, and I wrote 27,500. And you already know the place values of whole numbers, so you know the ones, the tens, the hundreds, the thousands, and the 10,000s. But what we're going to talk about today is what happens if I throw a decimal in here. What are going to be the place values that follow that? So what if I said that I wanted you to write 275 10,000s? Okay, there's that at the end, that TH at the end of it. So not 275,000s, but 275 10,000s. So if I say that, are you going to be able to fill in this place value? You might not be able to right now, but by the end of your lesson tonight, I'm hoping that that is what's going to be able to happen. So let's look at that number that I just said, 275 10,000s. Okay, I went ahead and wrote it on the board here. And as you can see, we've got a decimal this time. So our place values are going to the right instead of to the left that we talked about. So what is the place value right after the decimal? The place value directly to the right. Okay, this place value is the tenths. So if I were to ask you what digit is in the tenths place, it's the 0. Now, the place value directly to the right of the tenths is the hundredths. So if I said what digit is in the hundredths place, you would say it's the 2. So if you haven't started yet, make sure that you're writing notes in your PBIO and that you're following along. So we've got our tenths place directly after the decimal. To the right of the tenths is the hundredths. And if you think of the pattern in whole number place value, what comes after hundreds? It's the thousands, right? Well, it's going to be the same kind of pattern here. So we have the tenths and the hundredths. Now we're going to have the thousands. So each time that we're going each step, we say that we use use the digit in the place value that we ended to say it. So if I'm just looking at this number right here, and I just had that 0.02, I would say this as 2/100ths. If we move to the next and we have 0.027, I would say this as 27 thousandths. But now we're adding in this 5. And we're looking, and remember, it's the same patterns. We have tenths, hundred, thousandths. So the fourth place is going to be the 10,000ths. So again, remember, we use the last digit that we have, and we use that to say the number. So this is 275 10,000ths. So that's an introduction of what we're looking at when we're talking about place values in numbers smaller than 1. Okay, so now we've got an introduction to it. What I would like to do is put you guys, there it is, and flip to your vocabulary section. I'll give you a second to do that. All right, hopefully you're in your vocab. And our next word, I'm going to step aside so you can read this. I want you to find decimal. Okay, a decimal is a number that uses a decimal point and has one or more digits to the right of the decimal point. So go ahead and pause here if you need a second to copy that down. I'm going to give you an example of what that looks like. If we write 2.03, we use this decimal point, and we have one or more digits to the right of the decimal point. If I write the number 2, and I just want to throw in some zeros, is that going to technically be a decimal? No, because we don't really have any digits to the right. We're just filling it in with zeros. So this is still just a whole number. But a decimal is anytime you have digits to the right of that decimal. So now let's do a little bit about decimals. I'd like to show you how to write decimals in word form. So here's a number that we've got on the board. It's a decimal. And I would like you to follow along with your PPIL. So this number is written as 4 and 1,000 300 7 10 thousandths. So again, I'm going to read through it. This is how we say the number. This is how you write it. 4 and 1,000. Let's go with 1,000. 3 and 300 7 10,000ths. Okay? So again, if we follow along, we have our whole number, 4. The decimal point we read as and. That's why I don't want you saying 407 or 392 or 392, because and, when we're reading numbers in math, and means that there's a decimal point. So try to get out of the habit of saying 402, 403, 404. It's just 401, 402, 403. Because when you throw and, it means there's a decimal. So we read this as 4 and 1,300 7 10,000ths. So if we look again at our place values, this is the tenths, hundredths, thousandths, and 10,000ths. We read the number based off of where the last digit is. So that's why we end with 10,000ths. All right? So that's a little introduction of how to read and write decimals. All right, so now welcome to guided practice. Go ahead and draw our line to PPI. and label it as guided practice. And we're going to go ahead and get started with a few practice problems for you to get more comfortable with this concept of decimals and their place values. So, what we are going to do is I've got 4 problems on the board. In these 4 problems, what we're going to do is we're going to identify which place the underlying digit is in, and then we're going to give the value of that digit due to its place. So, in this one, remember that we have the tenths, hundredths, and thousandths. So, if we look at the digit that is underlined, this 1, it is in the thousandths. What's the value of this one since it's in the thousandths? Well, it's a 1, and it's in the thousandths, so the value is just 1,000th. Number 2, if we look at this number here, again, we're looking at the underlying digit and what is its place value. So we have the tenths, hundredths, thousandths, and 10,000ths. Okay, so the 2 is in the 10,000th place. And how much is it worth? Well, it's a 2 in the 10,000th place, so it's worth 2 10,000ths. Now let's come over here to 3. I know we're going back and forth. It's like a track meet over here. We've got the tenths, the hundredths, and I get to stop there because there's a 2 in the hundredths place. And how much is it worth? It's worth 200ths. And our last one, number 4. We have our tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths. So again, we're in the 10,000ths. And how much is that 6 worth? Well, it's worth 6 10,000ths. So, those are the first 4 problems. Go ahead and make sure you're caught up. And I'm going to go ahead and move on to number 5. Okay, so here are the last 2 that we're going to work on the board. I'm going to ask you just a couple questions, then you can go take a quiz, and we call it a night. So, number 5. What we need to do is write 1 and 5,629 10,000ths in word form. And I just said it. We're just going to put that in words now. So we're going to write it as 1 and, because remember, and is how we read a decimal, 5,000 600 29 10,000ths. Okay, I think you can see that all, but let's make sure. So again, these are 2 separate right here. So we had our number here, and to write this in word form, we write it as 1 and 5,629 10,000ths. To make it easier, just read the number how you normally would. Forget the decimals there. Just read the number, and then throw on whatever place value at the end. Okay, that's going to be helpful for right now. So just kind of use that as a gauge, as a helpful hint. And then now we need to write 27 and 6,000, 3/10,000 in expanded form. Okay, so in order to do this, what I'd like you to do is use place values this time. So normally, I said that you can just write it out as like 20 plus 7 plus whatever, but this time we're going to do it a little bit different. We're going to do the digit times its place value plus the digit times its place value. So 2 times 10 plus 7 times 1 plus 6 times 0.1 plus 3 times 0.0001, which is 10 thousandths. So we've got 2 times 10 because it's in the tenths place, 7 times 1 because it's in the ones place, 6 times 1/10 because it's in the tenths place, plus 3 times 10 thousandths because it's in the 10 thousandths place. Okay? So make sure that you remember that's how we're going to do expanded form. The simplified version of this, yes, it would be 20 plus 7 plus 6/10 plus 3/10,000. That's the simpler version, but I want you to show me your place values and understand that that's what we're doing. Okay, so go ahead, copy those down if you didn't get a chance to. And I'm going to ask you just a few questions here. I'm going to get you back up here. So how do you use a decimal point to read and write very small numbers? That's what I want you to kind of think about. And the decimal point, all it's doing there is it's separating the whole numbers from the parts of a whole. Okay, so to the left, we have the whole numbers, and to the right, we have the numbers that are less than a whole. They're not a whole, right? And we separate that by the decimal. We read that as 8. And the last question I want you to think about is, if I gave you the number, let's get rid of this real quick. If I gave you this number here on the board, you don't have to write this one down, but just listen. If I gave you this number, what portion is the whole and what portion is the decimal, right? So we know that to the left, like we just said, the left is the whole, so 63, and 29 thousandths is the part that is less. So the one thing that I want you to remember as well is there's no such thing as ones. So not one time through this whole lesson you hear me say once, except for when I just said it right now. But other than that, if you follow place value, you know that going up, I've got my ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000. You just keep going on and on. It's going to be the exact same thing for place value, but throw some THs at the end. As long as you don't start with ones. Directly to the right of the decimal is the tenths. So there's only ones. There's no ones. So then it kind of rainbows out and it's all great from there. So that's the end of your lesson. Please remember to take your quiz on assessment and email me your score tonight, and I'll have your independent practice ready for tomorrow. So thanks for watching.